Last year has been a year of wonders for Madison Jones. His 11th book of fiction, the Civil War novel Nashville, 1864, The Dying of the Light, has won 3 important literary awards: the Shaara Award for fiction, the T.S. Eliot Award, and recently in Monroeville, Jones was presented the Harper Lee Award for Alabama's distinguished writer. Jones, originally a Tennessean, has lived in Alabama for the better part of 4 decades. Well, Madison, thank you for taking the time and the trouble to drive over here and come in and visit with us.
Well, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, this has been really an amazing, remarkable last 12 or 18 months for you. And you're not exactly unrewarded as time has gone on. I mean, I know that over time you've gotten a Guggenheim Fellowship and a Rockefeller Fellowship, but this last year you have won 3 literary prizes. And I want to linger on each one for a minute, because they are different and they are sort of remarkable. The one I know the least about is the Michael Shaara Award, which comes out of LSU, I think. What's that for?
Well, it's a new prize. I got the first one. It's the United States Civil War Center has been started at LSU. And they give a book for excellence in writing about the Civil War and things related. I mean, for instance, a new biography of John Brown counts among them. But that was the first prize they gave, and I'm helping judge the one for this year's winner.
Right. No good deed goes unpunished.
That's right.
So you were telling me you've read any number of Civil War books about the Civil War?
Well, I only had to read 3, but they were all gigantic. And they were all good, but 2 of them were extremely good. And I have decided which one I want. I don't know what the others will decide.
You're not the judge.
No, I'm probably one of 3 judges. I don't know who the other 2 are.
Will each successive winner join the panel of judges, you suppose?
I think that's the way it's going to work.
And back on November 1st, you went to Chicago, I think, to receive the T.S. Eliot Award, which for a Southern novelist is a damned odd award to be getting. That's given out by the Ingersoll Foundation.
Well, they've got people from all over the place that have received it. We've got a couple of Europeans. The last one to get it before me was a Frenchman. And there were 2, 3 of eminent South American writers. And people like Nepal and so forth, including American people like, well, you got
well, let me take a look. It really is an astounding group of writers to join. Among the Latin Americans, Jorge Luis Borges, Octavio Paz, Vargas Llosa, amazing. And then among other non-Americans, one could say, Nepal and Anthony Powell. And then closer to home, people like Fred Chappell, Wendell Berry, Richard Wilbur, and Walker Percy. At least they have something in common with your work, absolutely.
Yeah.
What are the criteria for the T.S. Eliot Prize?
I haven't quite put together how they would put it, but they think that the people they select are people who are more in the tradition, of fiction and, well, intellectual thought generally. It's being the T.S. Eliot Prize, I think, doesn't necessarily mean it's that you share critical ideas or whatnot with T.S. Eliot, but that he is an upholder of the Western tradition. And I think they feel that the people they've chosen are, to one degree or another, just that they're not people who want to tear down the social structure, but those who want to maintain and uphold and strengthen it, and the intellectual tradition.
Tradition and the individual talent.
Yeah. that sort of thing.
Sort of the spirit of T.S. Eliot, and
Yeah, yeah.
and it seems appropriate enough then that a couple of agrarians, more or less, like Wendell Berry and yourself, and in his own way, Walker Percy would be in that group.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I felt the ones I'm familiar with, the writers on that list I'm familiar with, I'm sympathetic to, not because they were agrarians or had anything like my kind of experience, but I felt that they had the same kind of values and simply felt a cousinship with them.
Mm-hmm. And in 10 days or so, we'll all go to Monroeville.
Yeah.
And award to you the Harper Lee Award.
I'm delighted to receive it.
Yeah.
And with Harper Lee's name to it, it means a good deal more.
Yeah. And that's a fairly new prize as well, but Albert Murray won the first year.
Yeah.
And it's for distinguished writing by an Alabamian.
Yeah. I'm awfully gratified.
But you've not written about the Civil War before.
No, and I never expected to.
Why is that? On both questions. Why haven't you, and why didn't you expect to?
Well, it's always been a rather painful subject to me. I grew up in the house with my very, very old grandfather, who was born in 1856 or 7. And living in his house, he was alone a great deal of the time, and so I spent a lot of time with him. And he remembered a whole lot of things, and he read to me about the Civil War and other things besides, and told me a lot about his own experience. He lived very near Nashville, and he was a very small boy when Nashville came under Union control. Nashville fell to the Union in '62, and it was in Northern hands the rest of the war. And of course he experienced, he was probably too small to be terribly conscious of what was going on.
But he was alive during the Civil War.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And they came to his house, you see, and took their food and everything. And and then he'd read me about the war and so forth, and I was always very conscious that we lost.
Well, yes.
And it was always very painful to me, and always has been ever since. And so I suppose that would be a reason why I have never undertaken an actual, direct depiction of anything in the Civil War before. It just was sort of, I haven't even read a whole lot about it, because I like to read the battles where we win.
Well, it just doesn't take forever.
Yeah. And anyway, I had published a 9th novel, and then I got thinking, well, maybe I haven't got anything more to write about. And then I got this notion about, suppose my grandfather had gone out into the battle. It was going on. The Battle of Nashville took place in '64, December of '64. And he was still a small boy, about 9 years old, 8 or 9 years old. And my protagonist in the book is 12 years old. But, it's sort of a transference, Suppose my grandfather had done something like this.
I mean, I've read your work over the years as it's come out, and this is different. And there's very rarely been anything in your books that I would have said you had researched. That is, I mean, your novels are imagined. I mean, a certain amount of research might have gone into the 18th century novel or what have you. Did you do some actual historical, military reading to get this stuff right and straight?
A little. I read very carefully a single book about the Battle of Nashville and looked into a few other things. Mm-hmm. But the book I read, the Battle of Nashville, the decisive Battle of Nashville by Stanley Horn, was the one I principally relied on. And he told me everything I needed to know, for my purposes. When the Confederate Army got in a certain position that made them vulnerable and so on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I didn't need to read about the geography because I lived right on it, you see. I lived two places, well, three in my life, but from the time I was nearly 6 till I was 19, I lived right in the middle of it where they were fighting. And people used to come around and dig for mini balls and that sort of thing, you know. And so I felt right at home, you know, with what was, where it was.
So
and
you
I
were
knew the
raised on
geography.
battlefields.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
Well, it wasn't formally, there was no historical marker in my yard or anything like that. But, and also knew the geography. I knew that the western end of the Confederate line was along Harding Road, and that it crossed over so-and-so and was over to the Nolensville Pike, and I knew certain places where significant things had happened. So it was just sort of there for me. I just needed Stanley Horn to, you know, get it shaped up.
So you created a 12-year-old boy and his sidekick.
Yeah.
The sidekick has stirred up a considerable amount of interest, if not actual controversy. Your protagonist's buddy is a black boy.
Yeah.
How old is he?
He's 12 too. He was, my grandfather, they were yeoman farmers, but he had a substantial sized farm, 200 or 300 acres, and they owned one family of slaves. And the slave boy was named, well, my grandfather called him Dinky, and they were comrades, you know, very close friends. And so I simply took Dinky and called him Dink and put him with my main character.
Right.
As the book goes on, of course, they're about the age when a certain kind of realization, you know, a mental maturity sets in. And the book depicts what happens when Dink sees black Yankee soldiers, which were astonishing to him. He knew nothing like that. And when the party of black soldiers is ambushed, Dink witnesses it and suddenly identifies with them, and so this creates a gap between the boys that is not resolved, not only because the black boy gets killed in the battle that they get mixed up in, but probably it was a lasting thing. You know, they would never be able to return to this intimate relationship that they had had as children.
And your novel is in the form of a memoir.
Yes.
How old is the boy? Is 12 during the time of the Battle of Nashville. How old is he? Is that speaker presumably at the time of the writing of his memoir?
It's 35 years later, so 47 would be it. Yeah. He presumably wrote it in 1900. And the way the novel's set up is it doesn't have to be me, but somebody, finds the memoir in the 1980s or 90s, doesn't matter. Finds the memoir, is affected by it, and decides to have it published.
Right.
And so this is the publication of a memoir written by a man writing 35 years after an action happened.
Right.
And in any case, whether the depiction of slavery in my book, which is a very small matter really, in any case, this is the opinion of a man who suffered through the Civil War as a little boy and had certain experiences and a limited experience as to the whole picture of the South and slavery and so forth, giving his opinion.
Yeah.
So I think it's very true to what such a person would be likely to say, at least in my part of the country.
It's one person's story. It's not a history of
It's his
Southern
opinion.
culture.
And I think as a memoirist, I have a good friend who's almost a professional memoirist, and he cited, you know, numerous cases of, you know, that very closely parallel to my way of treating the memoir.
Yeah.
And this gave me a certain slant on the story Well, I'd say it gave me an ability to use language that no 12-year-old boy could use. I stick pretty close to the vocabulary of a child, but at the same time, you a lot of things you can't do with that. And after all, this was a man, 47, and a lawyer, an educated man, writing about his childhood experiences. So therefore, he's naturally going to be outside of the child part of the time, having language that enables him to express sophisticated ideas.
Right. This is not Huckleberry Finn. This is Huckleberry Finn at 47 years old.
Right. Yeah. So that was a very helpful thing for my purposes. Of course, some books that are completely confined to the first-person narrator and never get outside his vocabulary. Some are very successful, but for my purposes, this I thought was what I wanted.
The battle of Nashville, which followed right along after the Battle of Franklin.
Yes.
And recently, I mean, I think it's utterly coincidental, but Winston Groom's nonfiction book came out, Shrouds of Glory, about the war in the West. Why did the war in the West receive as little attention as it did for so long?
Well, it isn't as glamorous as the war in Virginia. There's a
Why not?
Well, Virginia had carried the aura, you know, of the gentleman and the romantic war. And they had the greatest general, of course, generals by far. They had both Lee and Jackson and some other awfully good ones. And in the West, the generals were pretty mediocre, with the exception of Nathan Bedford Forrest. And one or two others are lesser known, but certainly the glamour of the war, such as the horror that it was, has always attracted greatest attention to Virginia. But it was bad news because as soon, right in the beginning, the South and the West certainly was not prepared, and the Northern armies immediately took the rivers, and once they got control of the Ohio and the Cumberland and the Mississippi and so forth, that was all you had to do then was wait till they starved and choked off the Confederacy. And so it just wasn't attended to, and it wasn't generaled as well, and obviously it didn't have near the success that Lee did, who continued to win battles right up to almost the very end. But it was a long, long circle of defeats, or near defeats, or break-evens, that led the armies from Shiloh over toward Memphis, well, for a little while in Kentucky, then back down in Mississippi and across Mississippi and Alabama and on to Atlanta, and then driven north to Franklin, and then Nashville, and that was then the story.
Yeah.
So it was a long line of gallant withdrawal. You
have had one novel that was very successfully made into a film. The film became I Walked the Line.
Yeah. And the book was An Exile.
An Exile.
Yeah.
But the film's a great success. Gregory Peck and Tuesday Weld and Johnny Cash wrote the song.
Yeah.
How about we've spoken in the past about you and the film world. How are things progressing with A Cry of Absence?
I have. It's been out on options one after another for years. The man that has it now has taken a third option on it. I don't know whether he's going to make anything, but this happens to lots of novels that they're optioned and that's the end of it.
Well, that's a good thing for you, though. As time passes.
Every couple of years, when the option runs out, I get a little more money from it. So that's all to the good. They almost made it, right at first. And I don't know what all happened, but one thing was that a woman that they had in mind to be the heroine of the book had a stroke and so forth, or at least they wouldn't insure her, and some other things, but anyway, it fell through. But that's the closest I've ever come to their going on with it.
But Nashville,
yeah.
1864, the dying of the light
Oh,
would
there's
make
some,
a dandy
there's
little...
some rumors
Is that right?
reaching me, but I no longer count on those things. I think, well, that would be just something that might fall from heaven. I'm not looking for it as a strong likelihood.
What, I asked you just casually the other day what you were working on now, and after some hesitation, you allowed us how you were writing another book.
Well, I don't know if I can say I'm writing it. I started a book, and it was about the Reconstruction, and I wrote a little bit, and I decided I just didn't know enough. And so I started in reading, and then I got interrupted by a number of things, and I hope that after Monroeville, that I will then have my sheet cleared and I can get back to it.
Well, you do have time to write now because you've been retired for 11 years, haven't you?
Yeah, 12.
12.
Be 12 in June.
Right. That must give you a lot more free time.
Yeah, I wish I was freer than I might seem to be. I mean, I wish I had fewer things to do than I do, property to keep up and so forth. That bugs me more and more. I might ought to ditch some of it.
Well, you're running a cattle farm, aren't you?
A small one, yeah.
Why? Oh, how big is it? How small is it?
It's just a small, 82 acres and 20 cows,
Right.
calves and cows.
Well, this is a voluntary act.
Oh, yeah.
Why are you doing it?
I like it.
Well, it's...
Yeah, I love that farm. As I say, most of my life I've been either in contact with farms and farmers or actually lived on them or something. And I just like that kind of life, and I like the place where my farm is. It's an interesting country, woods and fields mixed, and we built a cabin there, my son and I, and just the kind of the way I like to live, at least part-time.
So you really do live a kind of at least part-time, a kind of agrarian existence.
Yeah.
I want to spend a minute. I know that it's been a long time for you, but you are a product of still the Nashville, Vanderbilt agrarian philosophy. When you were there were still original agrarians teaching, and I know that you were taught by at least two of them. I mean, I know you were taught by Donald Davidson, and then at a later time by Andrew Lytle.
Yeah.
Well, what effect
true.
do you think that had on you?
Yeah. Well, it had a good deal of effect. I was so interested in rural life, and it took me a long time. I wasn't a very intellectual boy when I came to Vanderbilt, or really much interested in anything of the kind. And it was about my junior year before I really got shaken up, so to speak, and in contact with some of these people. And their ideas were stimulating to me because they sort of fleshed out my own feelings. And so I certainly am in considerable part a product of their kind of thought, which was implicitly mine, I think. And also, of course, I had creative writing courses under two of them, Lytle and Davidson, both wonderful teachers. And that was where I found out that I could write. In fact, I handed a story in once and thinking on just another piece of work, and I got high praise for it. And I began to think, well, maybe I can really do that. And so, it's in line with what Flannery O'Connor said once. I heard her say when we were on a panel somewhere once, a lot of years ago, and they asked her, why do you write? What started you writing? She said, well, I write because I can do it well, you know, and I think that's what kicked me off, that I thought I discovered that I did it well, and so that I took off after that.
Madison, this has been a great pleasure. I thank you again for taking the time to come in.
Well, it's been a great pleasure for me. I'm always glad to come up and take a look at the university up here.
On the next bookmark, a lagniappe. One more conversation with Lee Smith, one of the South's most popular novelists.